Captain Noah Wright smirked as he powered up the EAS Titan, its ancient nuclear engines roaring to life, ready to unleash hell on the alien rebels who dared to mock him, not knowing that humanity's last great warship was far from a lifeless museum piece. The Yadaran noble Thule and his entourage cowered, slack-jawed, as the mighty battleship thrummed with renewed power. Thule had just finished mocking the ship, Noah, and the defeated human race, when explosions ripped through the museum. 50 years ago, the EAS Titan led humanity's desperate last stand against the Yadaran invasion fleet. Now it was humanity's only hope against armed rebels storming the building. As a curator, Noah had given tours to countless wide-eyed Yadaran children, teaching them about humanity's subjugation. The Apollo-class Titan towered over primitive human artifacts, a trophy of conquest. The aging warship bore hideous scars from the invasion, a brutal testament to humanity's fall. But today, fate gave Noah a chance to set things right. Alarms wailed. Thule screamed for the Imperial Guard, but none would come. The Yadaran Empire viewed this museum as a monument to victory, never dreaming their primitive human slaves could bring a warship back from the dead. Noah's hands flew across the controls, coaxing life into the slumbering giant. The bridge displays flickered on. Engines hummed. Power surged through the railguns. If the EAS Titan didn't hold the line here, Noah's tour group would be slaughtered, and any hope of a human rebellion would die. It was now or never. No second chances. The EAS Titan would roar its mighty guns once again in the name of all humanity. The EAS Titan's reawakening sent shockwaves through the museum. Rebels and Yadarans stared in disbelief as the battleship's engines roared with power not felt in half a century. Noah's fingers danced across the controls, slamming the blast doors shut with a resounding clang. Nobles and schoolchildren huddled inside, shielded from the chaos erupting around them. "Point defense turrets online," Noah announced, his voice echoing through the bridge. The Titan's guns swiveled to life, spewing streams of railgun rounds at the rebel positions. Yadarans dove for cover as the slugs tore through their barricades like tissue paper. The museum's security forces rallied, pushing back against the stunned insurgents. Thule's eyes narrowed as he watched Noah work. The human's actions were unexpected. Begrudging respect tinged the noble's voice. "It seems you've bought us a reprieve, human. Don't let it go to your head." Noah ignored the barb, his attention focused on the Titan's systems. He pored over the ship's inventory, a grin spreading across his face. "The armory, it's fully stocked. EMP grenades, railguns, tech the Yadarans never fully cracked. We might just have a chance." "Not yet," Noah countered. "But with your help we could update the targeting algorithms, make them more effective." The noble's eyes gleamed with sudden interest. Access to the Titan's secrets was a tempting prize. "I could be persuaded to assist, but I have a condition. Any intelligence you gather on these rebels is mine. Do we have a deal?" A bone-rattling boom shook the Titan. Noah swore, checking the external cameras. Rebel tanks had joined the fray, their cannons hammering at the museum's defenses. "Looks like they're back for round 2, Noah growled. "And this time they brought the big guns." Thule's hands flew across the console, Yadaran script cascading down the displays. "Almost there and done. The Titan's weapons are synced with our targeting algorithms. Let's hope your primitive tech can handle it." Noah ignored the jab, his attention focused on the advancing rebel tanks. He gripped the helm controls, the Titan responding to his touch like an old friend. The ship pivoted, its prow facing the oncoming threat. "Fire on my mark," Noah commanded. 3, 2, 1, mark! The Titan shuddered as a volley of EMP grenades streaked towards the rebel armor. The projectiles detonated in a cascade of blue light, washing over the tanks in a wave of electromagnetic fury. One by one, the armored vehicles ground to a halt, their systems fried by the localized EMP bursts. The rebel formation dissolved into chaos, soldiers scrambling for cover, as the museum's security forces surged forward. Railgun fire ripped through the disoriented rebels, the tide of battle turning in the defenders' favor. Noah allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. But it was short-lived. A stray shot from a rebel tank slammed into the Titan's flank, the impact throwing Noah from his feet. Alarms blared as the ship's systems flickered and died. "Damage report!" Noah barked, pulling himself back to the helm. Thule scanned the readouts, his face grim. "The engines are offline. We're dead in the water." Noah's mind raced, searching for a solution. His eyes fell on the Titan's main cannon, a relic of Earth's orbital defense network. "The cannon," he said. "It's our only chance. But the power draw." "The reactor can't handle it," Thule confirmed. "Not without help." The Yadaran paused, an idea forming. "The museum's exhibit on our fusion technology. If we could integrate it with the Titan's power systems." Noah balked at the thought of relying on Yadaran tech. But as another rebel shell rocked the ship, he knew they had no choice. "Do it," he said. "I'll buy you as much time as I can." As Thule raced to the exhibit hall, Noah rallied the Titan's defenses. The point defense turret spitting defiance at the encroaching rebels. The ship shook under the onslaught, its hull groaning in protest. Thule returned, a glowing Yadaran power cell in his hands. "This should do the trick," he said, interfacing the device with the Titan's reactor. "But Noah, there's something you should know." Noah looked up from the helm, surprised by the Yadaran's tone. "What is it?" "These rebels," Thule said, his voice low. "I don't think they're acting alone. The timing of this attack, the resources they have, I suspect they have backing from within the Empire itself." Noah's eyes narrowed. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying this may be part of something bigger, a plot to destabilize the Empire, to seize control." Thule's gaze was intense, his words heavy with implication. Noah absorbed this new information, the pieces falling into place. If Thule was right, then this battle was just the beginning. The fate of the Empire and humanity's place within it hung in the balance. The Titan shuddered anew, a reminder of the immediate threat. Noah pushed aside thoughts of conspiracies and hidden agendas. Right now, all that mattered was survival. "The power cell is ready," Thule reported. "The cannon is yours." Noah nodded, his grip tightening on the helm. The Titan's main cannon thrummed with power, a slumbering giant awakening once more. He sighted down the barrel, the rebel tanks looming large in his crosshairs. Noah's finger hovered over the firing controls, the Titan's main cannon thrumming with barely contained power. The fusion cell pulsed, its alien energies surging through the ship's ancient conduits. One shot, one chance to end this. Suddenly the bridge door exploded inward, shrapnel pinging off the Titan's bulkheads. Zorik strode through the smoke, flanked by a squad of heavily armed rebels. The rogue general's eyes gleamed with triumph as he leveled his weapon at Noah. "Step away from the controls, human," Zorik snarled. "This ship is mine now." Noah's grip tightened on the helm, his jaw clenched. "Over my dead body." Zorik's smile was cold. "That can be arranged." He glanced at Thule, who had positioned himself between the rebels and the cowering nobles. "Surrender the Titan and hand over your passengers. This rebellion is about more than just this ship. It's about the future of the Empire." Noah's mind raced, calculating his options. The Titan's cramped corridors and tight spaces would negate the rebels' numerical advantage. If he could just buy enough time. "Thule," Noah called out, his voice steady. "Get the VIPs to the escape pods. I'll handle this." The Yadaran noble hesitated, then nodded, herding the terrified students and dignitaries towards the rear of the bridge. Zorik's eyes narrowed, his finger tightening on the trigger. "I won't ask again, human." In a blur of motion, Noah lunged for the rebel leader, tackling him to the deck. The bridge erupted into chaos, pulse rounds and plasma bolts scorching the air. Noah rolled to his feet, slamming his fist into a rebel's throat, the alien's windpipe shattering under the impact. He dove behind a console as Zorik's men opened fire, sparks cascading from ruptured conduits. Noah's mind flashed back to the Titan's schematics, the ship's labyrinthine passageways etched into his memory. There was a maintenance corridor, just past the life support systems. "Thule, seal the bridge," Noah shouted, sprinting for the hatch. Pulse rounds stitched the bulkhead behind him as he dove through the opening, the door slamming shut with a resounding clang. Noah raced through the Titan's bows, the sound of boots on metal echoing behind him. He ducked into a side passage, doubling back towards the engineering deck. If he could just reach the armory. A searing pain lanced through Noah's shoulder, a plasma bolt grazing his flesh. He stumbled, catching himself against the bulkhead. Zorik loomed over him, a cruel grin twisting his features. "Did you really think you could outrun me on my own ship?" the general sneered. Noah's eyes widened. "Your ship?" Zorik laughed, the sound harsh and grating. The Titan was never meant to be a museum piece. It was a gift, a symbol of the Empire's power. And now it will be the instrument of its downfall. The rebel leader reached into his vest, withdrawing a small pulsing device. Noah's blood ran cold. An antimatter charge capable of reducing the Titan and half the city to atoms. Noah's mind whirled, desperate for a solution. Then his eyes fell on the exposed plasma conduits, their shielding ruptured in the firefight. It was a gamble, but it was his only chance. "You want the Titan?" Noah growled, his hand inching towards the sparking cables. "Then you can have it." He lunged, grabbing the conduits and thrusting them into Zorik's chest. The rebel leader convulsed, his body racked with searing plasma energy. The antimatter charge tumbled from his grasp, clattering to the deck. Noah snatched up the device, his fingers flying over its controls. The charge's indicators faded from angry red to cool blue as he neutralized the detonator. But even as relief washed over him, a chilling realization struck. Zorik's hand, still twitching from the plasma surge, had depressed the communicator on his wrist. A simple message, pulsing out to the rebel forces beyond the Titan's hull. A single word: now. The ship shuddered, the sound of breaching charges and shattering glass echoing through its corridors. The rebel assault had begun, a desperate bid to seize the Titan before Noah could bring its full might to bear. He raced through the ship's passageways, the sound of battle growing louder with each step. The Titan's defenders fought with the courage of the desperate, but the rebels pressed forward, driven by the knowledge that victory was within their grasp. Noah sprinted through the Titan's corridors, the sound of his own ragged breathing echoing in his ears. The ship shuddered under the relentless assault of the rebel forces, the deck plates vibrating beneath his feet. He burst onto the bridge, his eyes darting to the tactical display. The rebel forces were closing in, their weapons hammering at the Titan's already weakened defenses. Noah's heart sank as he saw the status of the main cannon. It was their only hope, but it was still charging, the power levels creeping upward with agonizing slowness. Thule looked up from the engineering console, his face grim. "The cannon needs more time, and with the engines down, we're sitting ducks." Noah's mind raced, searching for a solution. His gaze fell on the museum's exhibit on early Yadaran space exploration, the sleek lines of the ancient spacecraft gleaming under the lights. "The maneuvering thrusters," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "If we can reroute power from the fusion core, we might be able to lift the Titan off the ground, give us a clear shot at the rebels." "It's our only chance," Noah said, already moving to the helm controls. "We have to try." The Yadaran hesitated, then nodded, his fingers flying over the engineering console. "Rerouting power now. Thrusters coming online." The Titan shuddered, the deck plates vibrating under the strain. Slowly, ponderously, the massive ship began to lift off the ground, the maneuvering thrusters flaring with blue-white light. Outside, the rebels faltered, their weapons fire slackening as they stared up at the rising Titan in disbelief. Noah allowed himself a tight smile, his hands steady on the helm controls. "Point defense turrets fire at will," he ordered, the Titan's guns swiveling to track the rebel positions. Streams of railgun rounds tore into the rebel lines, scattering their formation. The Titan rose higher, its thrusters straining against the pull of gravity. Inside the ship, The students and nobles worked frantically to shore up the Titan's defenses. They hauled shattered exhibits and display cases, using the debris to improvise barricades and choke points. Yadaran technology, once a symbol of humanity's subjugation, now became a tool for their survival. On the bridge, Noah watched the main cannon's power levels climb, the indicators edging towards full charge, just a little longer. The door to the bridge burst open, the twisted metal clattering to the deck. Zorik strode through the smoke, his eyes burning with rage. "You think you've won, human?" he snarled, advancing on Noah. "You think your primitive ship can save you?" Noah stepped away from the helm, his fists clenched. "It's over, Zorik. Surrender now and you might just live to see a trial." The rebel leader laughed, the sound harsh and grating. "I'll die before I surrender to a human." He lunged at Noah, his fists hammering into the human's exhausted body. Noah staggered back, his vision swimming. Zorik pressed his advantage, driving Noah back against the helm console. "You're weak," Zorik hissed, his hands closing around Noah's throat. "Your entire species is weak. That's why we conquered you, why we'll always be your masters." Noah's lungs burned, his strength fading. Zorik's grip tightened, the Yadaran's eyes glinting with triumph. But even as the darkness closed in, Noah's hand found the edge of the console, his fingers brushing against the smooth metal of the firing controls. The main cannon, the power levels flickering at maximum charge, one shot, one chance to end this. With a roar of fury, Zorik slammed Noah against the helm console, his eyes wild with rage. Noah's vision swam, his lungs burning as the Yadaran's grip tightened around his throat. But just as the darkness threatened to claim him, a flash of movement caught Noah's eye. Thule burst onto the bridge, his energy blade flaring to life. The Yadaran noble lunged at Zorik, his weapon slicing through the air. Zorik reacted with blinding speed, releasing Noah and spinning to face his new adversary. The two Yadarans clashed in a whirlwind of glowing plasma, their blades sparking with each impact. Thule pressed the attack, driving Zorik back with a relentless barrage of strikes. The rogue general snarled, his own blade weaving a deadly pattern as he sought to counter Thule's assault. Noah staggered to his feet, his hand clutching his bruised throat. He watched in awe as the Yadrans dueled, their movements a blur of grace and power. Thule's face was a mask of determination, his loyalty to the Titan's defenders driving him to new heights of skill. With a final devastating blow, Thule shattered Zorik's blade, the fragments clattering to the deck. The rogue general stumbled back, his eyes wide with disbelief. Thule pressed his advantage, his blade coming to rest at Zorik's throat. "Yield!" Thule demanded, his voice cold as steel. Zorik's shoulders slumped, his fight gone. He nodded once, his gaze never leaving Thule's face. Noah let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. The bridge was secure, the Titan was theirs. He turned his attention to the main cannon, its power levels thrumming at maximum charge. But before he could fire, the tactical display flared with sudden activity. A fleet of rebel ships dropped out of hyperspace above the city, their hulls bristling with weapons. Noah's heart sank as he realized the truth. Zorik's distress signal had summoned reinforcements. The rebel commander's voice crackled over the comm, his tone laced with menace. "Surrender the Titan, or we will reduce you and the museum to ashes." Noah's mind raced, desperation clawing at his thoughts. The Titan was powerful, but against an entire fleet, it was a hopeless fight. And then, like a bolt of lightning, inspiration struck. The Yadaran fusion core, the one they had integrated into the Titan's power systems. If they could overload it, eject it from the ship. "A fusion bomb," Noah whispered, his eyes wide. "We could cripple the entire rebel fleet." Thule looked up sharply, his gaze calculating. "It would work," he said slowly, "but the Titan would be left without power. We'd have to land immediately." Noah nodded, his jaw set. "It's our only chance. Can you handle the overload?" Thule hesitated, then nodded. "I'll stay behind, manage the core, you get us into position." Noah clapped the Yadaran on the shoulder, a gesture of gratitude and respect. Then he turned back to the helm, his hands flying over the controls. The Titan surged forward, its thrusters flaring as Noah pushed the ancient ship to its limits. The rebel fleet loomed ahead, their weapons glowing with deadly intent. In the bowels of the ship, Thule worked frantically to overload the fusion core, sweat dripping down his face as he coaxed every last ounce of power from the alien device. Noah juked and weaved, the Titan's point defense turrets spitting defiance at the rebel ships. Plasma bolts and railgun rounds filled the sky, a deadly light show that lit up the city below. The rebel commander's voice sounded again, frustration and anger bleeding through the comm. "This is your last warning. Surrender now or—" "No!" Thule's voice rang out, triumph and urgency intermingled. Noah slammed his fist down on the ejection controls, the Titan shuddering as the overloaded fusion core blasted free of its housing. The glowing sphere arced through the sky, a miniature sun hurtling towards the rebel fleet. For a moment everything seemed to hold its breath. The core tumbled end over end, the rebel ship scattering before it, and then the sky erupted in a blinding flash, a wave of searing light and heat that washed over the Titan like the breath of a god. The rebel ships vanished, consumed by the fury of the makeshift fusion bomb. The shockwave slammed into the Titan, sending it tumbling towards the ground. Noah fought with the controls, desperately trying to right the ship. The thrusters sputtered and died, the Titan's power gone. The ground rushed up to meet them, the city streets a blur of motion. With a bone-jarring impact, the Titan slammed into the earth, its hull groaning in protest. Noah was thrown from his seat, his body ragdolling across the bridge. Darkness claimed him, a welcome respite from the chaos and destruction. And then silence. The battle was over, the Titan broken but unbeaten. Noah's hands tightened on the helm as he piloted the Titan directly towards the rebel fleet. The ship shuddered as enemy fire slammed into its armored hull, but Noah held the course, shielding the museum from the worst of the barrage. Thule's voice crackled over the comm. "Fusion core primed and ready, on your mark, Noah." Noah gritted his teeth, sweat dripping down his face as he pushed the Titan's thrusters to their limit. The rebel ships loomed large in the view screen, their weapons glowing with deadly intent. "Mark!" Noah roared. Thule slammed his fist down on the ejection controls. The overloading fusion core blasted free of the Titan, a miniature sun hurtling towards the rebel fleet. The explosion was blinding, a searing flash of light and radiation that engulfed the enemy ships. The shockwave slammed into the Titan, sending it tumbling back towards the ground. Noah fought with the controls, the ship bucking and shuddering as he struggled to bring it under control. The ground rushed up to meet them, the city streets a blur of motion. With a bone-jarring impact, the Titan slammed into the museum courtyard, its emergency thrusters and reinforced landing gear absorbing the worst of the impact. Noah was thrown from his seat, his body ragdolling across the bridge. Silence descended, broken only by the crackle of flames and the groan of twisted metal. Noah staggered to his feet, his vision swimming as he surveyed the damage. Noah stumbled to the view screen, his eyes widening at the scene of destruction outside. The rebel fleet was in ruins, the few surviving ships limping away from the battle. The museum, though battered and scarred, still stood, a beacon of defiance amidst the chaos. The bridge door hissed open, Thule staggering through the smoke. The Yadaran's face was streaked with soot, but his eyes shone with triumph. "We did it," Thule rasped, his voice hoarse from the smoke. "The rebels are in full retreat." Noah nodded, too exhausted to speak. He helped Thule to a seat, the two of them slumping against the shattered remains of the helm console. Outside, the survivors emerged from the Titan, blinking in the harsh sunlight. The Yadaran nobles, once so disdainful of Noah and the human ship, now looked upon Thule with newfound respect, hailing him as a hero for his role in their victory. Emergency services flooded the area, medical teams rushing to tend to the wounded, as fire crews battled the blazes that raged throughout the museum complex. Noah and Thule were helped from the Titan, their battered bodies aching with every step. As they emerged into the courtyard, A hush fell over the gathered crowd. A delegation from the Yadaran government, led by the Emperor himself, approached the Titan, their faces a mix of awe and trepidation. The Emperor, resplendent in his formal robes, stepped forward, his gaze locked on Noah. "Captain Wright," he said, his voice carrying across the courtyard, "the Yadaran Empire owes you a great debt. Your actions today have saved countless lives and preserved the stability of our government." Noah straightened, ignoring the pain that lanced through his body. "I did what needed to be done, Your Majesty. The Titan may be an old ship, but she still has some fight left in her." Noah raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued despite his exhaustion. "The Titan has proven herself to be more than just a museum piece," the Emperor continued. "She is a symbol of the strength and resilience of both our peoples. I propose that we reactivate her, not as a relic of the past, but as a guardian of our future." "I would be honored, Your Majesty," Noah said, his voice thick with emotion. "The Titan belongs among the stars, not gathering dust in a museum. Together, we can make her a beacon of hope and unity for all the peoples of the Empire." The Emperor clapped Noah on the shoulder, his grip firm and reassuring. "Then let it be done. The Titan shall rise again, a symbol of the new era of cooperation and understanding between our races." As the delegation departed, Noah turned to Thule, a grin spreading across his face. "Looks like we've got our work cut out for us, old friend. The Titan's going to need a lot of repairs before she's ready to fly again." Thule nodded, his own smile matching Noah's. "Then we'd better get started. The Empire needs its guardian, and the Titan needs her crew." Together, the human and the Yadaran strode back towards the battered ship, their steps filled with purpose and determination. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The EAS Titan would fly again, and the galaxy would tremble at her might. Noah paced the battered bridge of the Titan, the Emperor's offer weighing heavily on his mind. The chance to reactivate the Titan, to make her a symbol of unity between humans and Yadarans, was tempting, but he knew he couldn't make such a decision lightly. He turned to the Emperor, his voice steady. "Your Majesty, I am honored by your offer, but I must consult with my superiors on Earth before I can give you an answer. The Titan is not mine alone to command." The Emperor nodded, his expression understanding. "Of course, Captain Wright, take the time you need. The Titan has earned her rest, and we have much to rebuild." As the Emperor and his delegation departed, Noah turned his attention to the repair efforts. Yadaran engineers swarmed over the Titan, assessing the damage and beginning the long process of bringing the ship back to fighting shape. Days turned into weeks as the Titan slowly came back to life. Noah worked tirelessly alongside the Yadaran crews, his knowledge of the ship's systems invaluable in the repairs. It was during one of these long days that Thule burst onto the bridge, his face grim. "Noah, you need to see this." He led Noah to the wreckage of the rebel fleet, where Yadaran salvage teams had been picking through the debris. Amidst the twisted metal and shattered hulls, they had found something unexpected. "Weapons," Thule explained, gesturing to the crates that had been pulled from the wreckage. "Advanced tech, the kind the rebels shouldn't have had access to, and there's more." He handed Noah a datapad, the screen flickering with encrypted communications. The rebels were receiving outside support. Someone was supplying them, guiding their actions. Noah frowned as he scrolled through the data. But who and why? "That's what we need to find out," Thule said. "I've been tasked by the Emperor to investigate this new threat, and I need your help, Noah. Your knowledge of human technology could be the key to unraveling this mystery." Noah nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "Whatever this is, it's bigger than just the rebels. We need to get to the bottom of it." Together, Noah and Thule delved into the rebel communications, piecing together the clues left behind. As they worked, a picture began to emerge, one that sent a chill down Noah's spine. "The Nexus," he breathed, staring at the screens in disbelief. "A cabal of powerful individuals from across the galaxy, manipulating events from the shadows." Thule's eyes narrowed. "And they're not just targeting the Yadaran Empire. If these communications are to be believed, their ultimate goal is to destabilize the entire galactic order. Noah clenched his fists, a newfound resolve burning within him. We have to stop them. The Titan may be the only ship in the galaxy that stands a chance against their technology. As if in response to his words, a chime sounded from the communications console. Noah rushed over, his eyes widening as he read the message that scrolled across the screen. "It's from Earth," he said, his voice hushed. "My superiors have authorized me to act as Earth's ambassador to the Yadaran Empire, and to continue my mission aboard the Titan." He looked up at Thule, a grin spreading across his face. "Looks like we're in this together, old friend. The Titan is ours to command." Thule clapped him on the shoulder, his own smile matching Noah's. "Then let's get to work. The Nexus won't know what hit them." As the Titan's repairs neared completion, Noah and Thule began to plan their next move. They pored over the data they had gathered, searching for any clue that might lead them to the heart of the Nexus. "We need to upgrade the Titan's systems," Noah said, his fingers flying over the ship's schematics. "The Nexus has technology we've never seen before. We need every advantage we can get." Thule nodded, already compiling a list of Yadaran scientists and engineers who could help. "We'll need to be careful. We don't know how deep the Nexus's influence runs. Trust will be our most valuable asset." As the Titan underwent its final retrofits, Noah couldn't help but feel a sense of destiny. The ship that had once been a symbol of humanity's defeat was now their greatest hope, and he would be the one to lead her into battle once more. He looked out at the stars, a fierce determination burning in his eyes. The Nexus thought they could manipulate the galaxy from the shadows, but they had never faced the likes of Captain Noah Wright and the EAS Titan. The newly christened RSS Titan shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace, its hull gleaming in the light of a distant star. On the bridge, Captain Noah Wright and his Yadaran first officer, Thule, exchanged a glance, the weight of their mission heavy on their shoulders. "All systems nominal," the helmsman replied. "We've arrived at the coordinates of Zephyria." Noah nodded, his gaze fixed on the view screen. The planet below was a swirl of greens and blues, its surface marred by the scars of war. "What's the latest intel from the surface?" Thule stepped forward, his face grim. "The civil war continues to escalate. Nexus-backed government forces have pushed the rebels to the brink. Without our intervention, they'll be crushed within weeks." Noah's jaw tightened. The Titan had been tasked with rallying support from the galaxy's disparate species and factions, but it was a daunting prospect. Many were skeptical of the ship's capabilities and the motives of its human and Yadaran crew. "Then we'll just have to prove ourselves," he said, his voice ringing with determination. "Prepare a landing party, we're going in." The Titan descended through Zephyria's atmosphere, its shields flaring as it cut through the turbulence. Noah, Thule, and a team of Yadaran special forces gathered in the hangar bay, checking their weapons and gear. "Move out," Noah ordered, his rifle at the ready. "Our first objective is to gather intel on the Nexus supply lines. If we can cut off their support to the government forces, it'll give the rebels a fighting chance." The team moved through the ruined countryside, the sound of distant explosions echoing in their ears. They came upon a burned-out village, its buildings little more than shells. Suddenly a shot rang out, the bolt of energy sizzling past Noah's ear. He dropped to a crouch, his rifle snapping up to his shoulder. "Contact!" Thule shouted, his own weapon at the ready. A group of figures emerged from the ruins, their weapons trained on the Titan crew. They were a ragtag bunch, their clothes tattered and their faces smeared with dirt and blood. "Hold your fires," a voice called out. A woman stepped forward, her eyes hard and her posture defiant. "Who are you, and what do you want with Zephyria?" Noah lowered his rifle, his hands held out in a gesture of peace. "I'm Captain Noah Wright of the RSS Titan. We're here to help." The woman's eyes narrowed. "The Titan? I've heard stories about your ship. Some say you're here to save us. Others say you're just another faction looking to exploit our world." Noah met her gaze, his voice steady. "We're here to fight the Nexus, to stop them from tearing apart your world and countless others. We're not your enemies." The woman hesitated, then lowered her weapon. "I'm Arya, leader of the Zephyrian rebels. If you're truly here to help, then prove it. The Nexus has a major supply depot not far from here. If you can take it out, it'll be a blow to the government forces and a boon to our cause." The Titan crew and the Zephyrian rebels set out across the war-torn landscape, the sun beating down on their backs. They moved swiftly and silently, guided by Arya's knowledge of the terrain. As they approached the supply depot, Noah and Thule took stock of the situation. The depot was heavily guarded, with Nexus troops patrolling the perimeter and anti-aircraft batteries scanning the skies. "We'll need to hit them hard and fast," Noah said, his mind racing with possibilities. "Thule, take your team and flank them from the west. Arya and I will lead the main assault from the south." Thule nodded, his face set with grim determination. "Understood. May the gods watch over us all." The Titan crew split into two teams, moving into position. Noah and Arya crept forward, using the ruined buildings as cover. "On my mark," Noah whispered into his comm. 3, 2, 1, mark! The depot erupted into chaos as the Titan crew and the rebels attacked. Noah and Arya charged forward, their weapons blazing. The Nexus troops, caught off guard, scrambled to mount a defense. Noah ducked behind a crate, plasma bolts sizzling overhead. He popped up, his rifle barking as he dropped two Nexus soldiers with precise shots. Arya was a whirlwind of motion, her energy blade flashing as she cut through the enemy ranks. Her face was a mask of determination, her every move fueled by a lifetime of anger and pain. On the other side of the depot, Thule and his team were wreaking havoc. The Yadaran Special Forces moved with deadly precision, their advanced weapons cutting through the Nexus defenses like a hot knife through butter. As the battle raged, Noah spotted a Nexus officer barking orders into a comm unit. He sprinted forward, ducking and weaving through the crossfire. With a flying tackle, Noah slammed into the officer, sending them both tumbling to the ground. They grappled for control, fists and elbows flying. Noah finally gained the upper hand, his forearm pressing down on the officer's throat. "Call off your men," he growled, his voice low and dangerous. The officer's eyes widened in fear, his hands scrabbling at Noah's arm. I can't," he gasped. "The Nexus, they'll kill me." Noah's grip tightened. "And what do you think we'll do if you don't?" The officer hesitated, then nodded frantically. He reached for his comm unit with shaking hands. As the fighting began to subside, Noah hauled the officer to his feet. "You made the right choice," he said, his voice hard. "Now start talking. I want to know everything about the Nexus's operations on Zephyria." As the Titan crew and the rebels secured the depot, Noah and Thule pored over the intelligence they had gathered. The Nexus's influence ran deep on Zephyria, with supply lines and hidden bases stretching across the planet. Arya stepped forward, her face set with determination. "We'll fight with you," she said, her voice ringing with conviction. "The Zephyrian people have suffered under the Nexus's boot for too long. It's time we took our planet back." Noah clasped her hand, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Together, then, for Zephyria and for the galaxy." As word of their victory spread, other species and factions began to take notice of the Titan and its crew. Some, inspired by their example, pledged their support to the fight against the Nexus. Others, fearful of the Titan's growing influence, moved to undermine their efforts. Noah and Thule knew that the road ahead would be long and hard. They would have to navigate the treacherous waters of galactic politics, forging alliances and fighting battles on a dozen different fronts. But as the Titan set course for its next destination, its crew united in purpose and resolve, they knew that they would stop at nothing to see the Nexus defeated and peace restored to the galaxy. The fight had only just begun, but with the Titan and its crew leading the charge, there was hope for a brighter tomorrow. As the Coalition's victories against the Nexus mounted, Noah and Thule worked tirelessly to gather intelligence on their enemies' operations. Finally, after months of covert missions and careful analysis, they received a breakthrough. the location of the Nexus main base. "This is it," Noah said, his eyes gleaming with determination as he studied the holographic display. "If we can take out this facility, it'll cripple the Nexus's ability to wage war." Thule nodded, his expression grim. "It won't be easy. The base is heavily defended, and the Nexus will throw everything they have at us." Noah turned to face his crew, a mix of humans, Yaddarans, and allies from across the galaxy. "We've come too far to back down now. The Nexus thinks they can divide us, but they're wrong. Together, we're stronger than they could ever imagine." As the Coalition fleet assembled, the Titan took its place at the vanguard, its weapons primed and ready. Noah stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the view screen as they emerged from hyperspace above the Nexus planet. The base loomed before them, a sprawling complex of fortified bunkers and weapon emplacements. The Nexus fleet moved to intercept, their ships bristling with firepower. "All hands battle stations," Noah barked, his voice ringing through the Titan's halls. The Coalition ships surged forward, their weapons blazing as they clashed with the Nexus forces. The Titan plunged into the heart of the enemy formation, its shields flaring as it absorbed the brunt of the Nexus's fire. On the ground, Coalition troops stormed the base's defenses, engaging in fierce close-quarters combat with the Nexus soldiers. Thule led the charge, his energy blade flashing as he cut through the enemy ranks. Suddenly a figure emerged from the chaos, his face obscured by a sleek helmet. Thule froze, recognition dawning on his features. "Zayn," he whispered, his voice filled with a mix of shock and anger. Thule's grip tightened on his blade, his mind reeling with the revelation. Zayn, his own brother, was the mastermind behind the Nexus. "Why?" Thule demanded, his voice raw with emotion. "Why betray our people, our Emperor?" Zayn laughed, the sound cold and mirthless. "The Emperor is weak, a relic of a bygone age. The Nexus will bring order to the galaxy under my rule." Thule shook his head, disbelief and rage warring within him. "I won't let you destroy everything we've built. I'll stop you, even if it means—" He trailed off, unable to finish the thought. Zayn's face hardened, his eyes glinting with malice. "Then you will die, along with your precious Coalition." The brothers charged at each other, their blades clashing in a flurry of sparks and plasma. They fought with a savage intensity, each driven by their own sense of duty and betrayal. Above them, the Titan shuddered under the relentless assault of the Nexus ships. Its hull buckled and its shields failed, the once mighty ship falling apart under the onslaught. On the bridge, Noah gripped the helm, his knuckles white with strain. He knew that the Titan couldn't take much more, that the ship that had been their home and their hope was on the verge of destruction. With a heavy heart, he opened a channel to the rest of the crew. "All hands, abandon ship. I repeat, abandon ship. Get to the escape pods now." There was a moment of stunned silence, then a flurry of activity as the crew raced to comply. Noah watched them go, a sense of finality settling over him. He turned back to the helm, his hands flying over the controls. The Titan groaned and protested, but Noah pushed the ship forward, aiming it directly at the heart of the Nexus base. On the ground, Thule and Zayn fought on, oblivious to the chaos unfolding above them. Their blades locked, the brothers stared at each other with a mix of hatred and sorrow. In a final desperate move, Thule lunged forward, his blade piercing Zayn's chest. The Nexus leader staggered back, his eyes wide with shock and pain. He fell to his knees, his life ebbing away as Thule stood over him. Zayn's eyes fluttered, a hint of the brother Thule he once knew surfacing for a brief moment. Then he was gone, his body still and lifeless on the blood-soaked ground. Thule looked up, his gaze drawn to the sky where the Titan hurtled towards the base. He watched in horror as the ship, battered and broken, slammed into the Nexus facility, erupting in a blinding flash of light and heat. The shockwave knocked Thule off his feet, the ground shaking beneath him as the base crumbled and burned. He struggled to stand, his ears ringing and his vision blurred. Around him, the Coalition forces regrouped, their faces etched with a mix of triumph and sorrow. They had won, but the cost had been high. As the smoke cleared and the fires died down, Thule made his way through the ruins of the base, his heart heavy with the weight of what had transpired. He found Noah's body amidst the wreckage, the human's face serene in death. Thule knelt beside his friend, tears streaking his battle-worn face. "You did it, Noah," he whispered. "You saved us all." In the days that followed, the coalition worked to secure their victory, hunting down the remaining Nexus cells and restoring order to the galaxy. Thule, hailed as a hero by his people, took up the mantle of leadership, guiding the Yadaran Empire into a new era of peace and prosperity. But even as the galaxy began to heal, Thule never forgot the sacrifices that had been made. He carried the memory of Noah and the Titan with him always, a reminder of the bond they had shared and the cause they had fought for. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.